Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm about to call people by names, huh? Thank you. My name is Byron Amos. Like the chair of the transportation, I'd like to go ahead and call today's meeting, January 2nd, 17th, to order. Been joined, of course, by committee. To my far left, Councilmember Juan, Hillis, and Farouk, and of course to my far right, Councilmember Waits. So those are introductions of the members. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda. Second. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
Still loading. Just one moment.
So as we prepare to open the vote, as chair, just want to welcome everyone to a new and exciting year of transportation. We're gonna fly some planes, pave some roads, and get some things accomplished working together this year. So the same energy we're starting the year off with, please, let's look forward to ending the year as well with a lot of things checked off our list. So are we ready?
Just one moment. Who was the second? Mr. Hill. The vote is open. Vote is closed.
5 yeas, no nays, vote carries. Make a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote. Okay.
Vote is closed.
5 yeas, no nays, motion carries. Moving on to the election of the 2024 Transportation Committee Chair, I'd like to nominate Councilmember Overstreet, which is not currently here.
Second.
Motion has been made and second. Is there any more nominations? Seeing none, please open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed.
5 yeas, no nays, so we have elected, and she's in the building, so she's not exactly absent. We have elected our vice chair for 2024 transportation, our colleague, Councilwoman Overstreet. Next, we have our 2024 transportation goals and objectives. Please, if you haven't met our new person by now, Mr. Overton, please get all the recommendations and suggestions to him, and then let's try to look to adopting that and sharing it on our February 12th meeting. Not if possible. Let's do it by February 12th so we can move forward. So with that being said, we will get into public comment. I have 3 people signed up. So we have Miss Rebecca Cerna.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Chair Amos. Very excited to start this new year in transportation. My name is Rebecca Cerna. I'm the Executive Director at Propel ATL. We're a nonprofit dedicated to transforming our streets into places that are safe and accessible for sustainable transportation. This morning, I'd like to comment in support of the ordinance to prohibit turns on red lights within downtown Atlanta, Midtown Atlanta, and Castleberry Hill. We've heard a great deal of public support for this very common sense measure. It is in keeping with the council's previous commitment to Vision Zero, and turning right on red poses significant risk to those who are most vulnerable in a crash: people using wheelchairs, seniors crossing the street, people riding bikes and scooters. A 2022 study highlighted that when drivers are allowed to turn right on red, they mostly focus on leftward traffic, often overlooking pedestrians crossing the street. This lapse in attention creates a disadvantage for those already at greater risk on the road, particularly in busy downtown intersections. But it also poses a risk for people driving. No one wants to be involved in a car crash. Even if there are no injuries, it's an inconvenience and it's a cost burden. So we strongly support this measure, and we urge you to adopt it, and we appreciate this step towards eliminating traffic fatalities and serious injuries in the city of Atlanta. We'd also like to comment briefly on the Moving Atlanta Forward performance audit. Transportation projects that increase street safety for all users are another really key way that we can move towards that Vision Zero goal. So we urge you to please take a close look at that audit and continue to do everything that you can in your power on council to support projects being delivered rapidly, effectively, safely, and on budget, and to work in partnership with the Atlanta Department of Transportation to do so. We remain concerned that there are simply not enough people. We have wonderful people in the city Department of Transportation. We're concerned that there simply are not enough people to advance these projects. And I think if you'll look at the performance so far and the number of projects we have in procurement, you might see that that reflects the lack of project managers. Hiring is a challenge, of course, right now, but we have to have the budget and the crews and just the people and the equipment to be able to moving Atlanta forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cerner. Next on the list is Mr. Chris Brown, but I see he's donating his time to Dr. DeJuan Robinson. So, Dr. Robinson, you have 6 minutes.
Happy New Year, Mr. Chair and Board. I come here today finishing up what we spoke about in 23 in concern of the airport and Ms. Jaffarell and all this mess going on. To get you up to speed, Mr. Hillis, welcome to the board. Ms. Jaffarell has been absent for quite some time, and what we're hearing is that she's out on FMLA, and the HR person over at the airport, Ms. April Broders, have been approving her FMLA since early December. It has come to our attention that Mr. Bill Dorr, who's here today, is considering offering her ASG position to move her up from HR to the ASG, where she reports directly to him. Now that goes against everything that the city of Atlanta is supposed to stand for. We're in a climate we have so many of our elected officials under scrutiny for corruption. I just read the other day that our county commissioner had to pay this guy that was suing for sexual offenses $868,000. Now guess who got to pay for that? The taxpayers got to pay for that $868,000 that was given to this guy, you know what I'm saying, for sexual misconduct over there. For some reason, we seem to not like to ask the airport what's going on out there. And I just hope in 24 that we have the gumption that when these guys are here to ask them. Now, I went back and we looked at the tapes over the holiday. All 22, Mr. Alex 1 and 21 and whatever, Jaffarell was here. But when we started talking about these candles and, you know what I'm saying, the repairs money that was her cousin and covering things up, she don't come no more. She came to one meeting, and we don't ask, where is the girl that's over everything at the airport now? Y'all sitting here and let Mr. Bill Dorr give y'all these findings and these putting together these graphs and everything, but where's the girl that's over everything? Anything financially responsible at the airport, Mr. Hillis, she's over. We cannot be afraid to ask them that, Mr. Lewis. Where is Jaffarell? Where is she? Ask her these questions. She's over everything financially at the airport. But we won't have her summoned here to ask her these questions. Y'all hear everything out there. You hear whatever. But I look at some of you guys' financial disclosure. I know some of your big donors got business going on in the airport. Hey, man, we don't want to be caught in the federal district court. You know what I'm saying? But you guys have to answer these questions with some of your donors who are your friends in bed with these guys as to why you won't ask these guys that magical question. Y'all get up here and grill Martyr like they do not service the public like no other. Y'all get all in Martyr. But when it comes to Mr. Bill Dora, you know what I'm saying, the Antigo Bill at the airport, you know what I'm saying, when they telling news reporters that you can't ask about John Farrell, you better not ask about John Farrell. We got a complicit AJC news reporter that are in bed with these people. We can't have that in the city of Atlanta, not today. Not no day, long as I'm alive, I'm not gonna let it go. So y'all better ask them, get to the bottom of it, because I'm gonna be down here every day. And I don't know when that IG report coming out, but we need to get a speed dial on it, because it's gonna tell you everything that you need to know and probably what you're afraid to know. And also, before I conclude, we also need to be asking them about why all of a sudden that they allow John Farrell to fire everybody at the top, and you wonder why the airport is in such disarray, why the lines are so much longer, why everything, the performance that's have dropped. Since I've told you guys that she have fired all these top people that have been there for 25 years, 27 years, were not allowed to resign, straight fire, have never had a write-up. This is why the airport is failing. But y'all like to read those orders that's so comfortable and say, oh, the #1 airport. Man, we're the #1 airport for volume. I can guarantee you not customer service, not safety, not cleanliness. No, we're not. And also, Mr. Amos, there's a company out there. I'm going to get this company name. They have a contract at the airport, Mr. Lewis, where they doing all the cleaning at the airport. It doesn't go through a contract. I don't want to mispronounce the name, but I'll come back with the facts of the name. Delta owns the company. It's not solicited. Delta and Mr. Bill Dory, them get to choose who perform, you know what I'm saying, the work at the airport. It's not fair, man. And they bringing in over $378 million a year. No minorities get a piece of this. No minorities get a piece of it. You Negroes giving enough people 30%, but you won't get 30% of this $378 million. That's what they basically saying. And we got to put a stop to that, man. We cannot allow this airport to just think that they can just run how they want to run in Atlanta with no accountability. We cannot do that, man. And I will not allow them to do that. Not this year, not no year. And we got to hold them accountable, because they're not afraid, you know what I'm saying, to just act like they're above reproach. They get up here, they give you all this stuff. We don't ask them no question. They lie, you know what I'm saying, they mislead us. And I just hope that we do not allow them to just do this in 2024, guys. Thank you.
Moves up, Mr. Dave Martis. We've been joined by Councilman Antonio Lewis as well. Thank you.
Good morning, Transportation Committee. My name is Dave Martis. I live in the West End. I'm a pediatric ER nurse. I am here because last month I got to go on a walking audit that was actually organized by Propel ATL. I'm more of a biker myself, but I was struck by how dangerous our crosswalks are, at least in the West End, and I suspect in a lot of areas of Atlanta, probably besides Midtown, where I know there's a strong advocacy for pedestrians. I actually went on my bike this morning. It was 15 degrees, and I went to 4 different intersections that I have 311 tickets in with, and I have on one of them since April had a 311 ticket on to try to get the crosswalk to work. It literally just stays on don't walk. It's not the only one. There are multiple. There were 4. One of them happily was addressed, I found out this morning, but 3 others, it just stays on don't walk. That crosswalk audit, I saw a lot of folks crossing without signals, and I think the reason that partly they do it is because they know the signals don't work, so why are they gonna wait? So I've been staying on 311. I've filed multiple tickets multiple times. And every time I file one, you know, sometimes multiple times actually, I've been told, oh, someone came out. I've even had them say they stayed for 5 to 10 minutes and they watched and they all work. So I'm like, great. I walk out there and I go back out there and I'm like, all right, let's push the button. Let's watch it work. It doesn't work. And I would like to blame poor communication, but I'm actually submitting videos of the intersections with the street names, and people still come out and say, oh yeah, it works. Once I start doing that enough times, the tickets stay open. But like I say, one of the tickets has been open since April of 2023. So yeah, I thought it was cool. Today you said we're gonna build some roads, we're gonna fly some planes. Let's fix some crosswalks too. Let's save some lives, because transportation is like very important, you know, and it's multimodal. It's not just, you know, it's planes, trains, automobiles, and people. So thank y'all so much. Oh, I forgot to say, I actually emailed all of y'all a Facebook link to the videos I took this morning when I was on my bike ride, so you can see that I'm not just making this stuff up. Thanks.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of our public comments, which move us into communications. Please sound the communication.
24C 5002, a communication from Danielle Hampton, Chair of the Audit Committee, submitting the performance audit report for Moving Atlanta Forward for 2023.
And I think we have a presentation.
Does it work? Okay. Rebecca Robinson, Performance Audit Supervisor, City Auditor's Office. Today I'll share the findings and recommendations of our performance audit of the Moving Atlanta Forward Infrastructure Program 2023 Annual Review. Okay. The team for the project was Amanda Noble, City Auditor, Stephanie Jackson, Deputy City Auditor, Michael Jones, Audit Manager, Imani Adams, Senior Performance Auditor, Nika Benton, Performance Auditor, and myself. We would like to thank city employees for their courtesy and cooperation throughout the audit. We undertook this audit as required by Ordinance 22-0-1369, adopted by City Council in May 2022. City Council requires the City Auditor to conduct an annual review of financials and project delivery for the program and present findings to the Transportation and Finance Executive Committees. This is the first of those required reports. The objective that guided this audit was our controls in place to ensure that Moving Atlanta Forward projects adhere to established budget, scope, and schedule requirements. The scope of the audit was the program's project delivery framework. Oh, I have the clicker. Okay. Background. This is Exhibit 1 on page 2 of the report that shows the funding breakdown of the program. Ordinance 22-0-1369 authorized the $750 million program, which is funded in part 47% by T-SPLOST for transportation capital projects, including streets, sidewalks, and bridges. Voters also approved 2 general obligation bonds totaling approximately $400 million, which represent a combined 53% of the funding. The horizontal infrastructure bond totaling about $190 million will be used for parks, trails, and transportation projects. The vertical infrastructure bond of $210 million will fund new buildings and building renovations for public safety and parks facilities. The bonds also include $36 million in council discretionary funds, allowing the council member in each district to use $3 million for neighborhood projects that are not already funded by the program. The program is administered through the mayor's office, but 3 departments directly oversee projects. the Departments of Transportation, Enterprise Asset Management, and Parks and Recreation. Enterprise Asset Management oversees projects funded by the Vertical Infrastructure Bond, and Transportation and Parks manage projects under the Horizontal Infrastructure Bond. Oh, my bad. This slide summarizes our findings, which I will go over in detail in the subsequent slides. Program controls are consistent with best practices. This is Exhibit 6 on page 12 of the report, highlighting the controls in Section 5.2 of the Strategic Delivery Plan. City Council put controls in place for the program by approving the Strategic Delivery Plan, which provides a detailed framework for managing projects. The guidelines in the plan are generally consistent with best practices and include controls to track whether projects are within budget and on schedule, whether project deliverables are met, and any changes in contract terms. The GAO's Green Book outlines 5 components and 17 principles of internal controls. The plan covers 16 of the 17 principles. Departments did not complete the project management plan or monthly variance reports before the construction phase. This is Exhibit 7 on page 13 of the report. The graphic shows strategic delivery plan controls throughout the life cycle of projects. For projects in the pre-construction phase, we reviewed available documentation to determine whether departments documented activation phase controls. We found that Parks and Enterprise Asset Management had not completed project management plans, which are required to be completed prior to the construction phase, or monthly variance reports. Although the progress of these projects may not have triggered the need for these reports. Transportation's projects had not yet begun. If departments do not comply with strategic delivery plan controls, projects may be delayed and departments may overspend project budgets, which is why the plan calls for these controls to be implemented in the activation phase. The program dashboard should be fully implemented by developing written procedures to collect and validate data and keep the information up to date. A consultant in collaboration with transportation staff developed a dashboard for the program that includes project status, budget, encumbrances, and paid amounts as required by the strategic delivery plan. This is a screenshot of the dashboard, which is Exhibit 9 on page 16 of the report. AIM updated those data based on the information that departments provided, but does not validate the data beyond basic logical tests. Although the dashboard is still under design, we identified discrepancies in the data, including missing line items in City Council discretionary funding and outdated data. Transportation stated it is in the process of documenting these procedures, and Executive Office staff told us that the dashboard will be assessed for functionality and compliance when it is complete. The infrastructure program should implement processes for tracking soft costs. The strategic delivery plan does not outline steps for tracking soft costs, which are the administrative expenses associated with projects. In our previous audits of Renew Atlanta projects, we found that failure to track soft costs may have contributed to projects going over budget. So it is important that the program has a consistent definition and tracking method for these costs. Departmental staff told us that they have not received direction from the Executive Office on tracking soft costs. In October 2023, Executive Office staff told us that the office is exploring systems for tracking soft costs and plans to implement one by the beginning of 2024. Of 207 projects slated for completion, only 48 have begun. This is Exhibit 11 on page 18 of the report that shows the number of projects in the life cycle phases. The strategic delivery plan separates the 207 total projects into 5 batches based on when the projects are scheduled to begin activation. The first batch includes 94 projects that should have been in the activation phase by the end of 2023. Departments reported that 49 of the batch 1 projects had not yet started. We reviewed ATL Cloud P&G task status, expenditure details, and commitment reports for Moving Atlanta Forward projects to determine the paid amounts and encumbrances as of August 2023. Parks encumbered about $2.5 million and paid about $10 million, and Enterprise Asset Management encumbered about $7 million and paid almost $1.4 million. Transportation had no reported encumbrances or expenses in ATL Cloud at the time. In October 2023, transportation staff told us that the department may revise the sequence of its projects. Staff from 3 departments told us they have faced challenges hiring project managers, a requirement of the activation phase. The strategic delivery plan states that each department should have dedicated project managers, although staff told us that the salaries made it difficult to fill these positions. The salaries range from a minimum of $51,000 to a maximum of $98,000, which the departments do not consider competitive for the minimum qualifications required. Until project managers are hired, city employees in each department are functioning in these roles. According to executive office staff, the departments have project manager positions available that they are actively trying to fill, and Parks and Enterprise Asset Management projects are not at risk of falling behind schedule because existing employees in those departments are administering them. Because departments have been unable to fill vacant project manager positions and current staff have other obligations, projects may fall behind schedule and lack adequate oversight. Executive office staff told us that departments are authorized to hire project managers above the salary midpoint, but are concerned with ensuring that salaries of new hires are equitable compared to those of existing staff. Recommendations. We issued 3 recommendations to help maintain project budgets and schedules, which we issued to the Deputy Chief Operating Officer because he has promoted a programmatic rather than departmental approach to managing projects. The Deputy Chief Operating Officer agreed with 1 recommendation and partially agreed with 2 because he stated that departments are responsible for implementing controls. Our recommendations include the following. Ensure that departments are completing project management plans, monthly variance reports, and the RACI matrix during the activation phase, and ongoing training is provided to departmental staff on those procedures. Assist the department in developing written procedures for ensuring dashboard completeness and accuracy, and assist departments in developing a system and written procedures for tracking soft costs. You can find the full report at the link provided. I'm happy to respond to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Colleagues, please hit, okay, you are beginning to hit your speaker's button as we get ready to ask questions. I'd like to recognize, we have been joined by newly elected Vice Chair of Transportation Committee, Councilwoman Overstreet. Let's see here. And before we get into questions, I know we have our Commissioner of Transportation. There we are. Any response or reaction?
Good morning, everyone. Solomon Cavanis, ATL DOT. Short answer, no. We are working with the audit team and the administration to make sure we address any outstanding issues. I will recognize that there's a time lapse between when the audit report presentation, what it describes, and where we are at this present moment. So we look forward to having a update in terms of where we are with the Moving Atlanta Forward program.
Thank you. First speaker, Mr. Lewis, Antonio Lewis.
And thank you. And thank you for doing this audit report. It is very informative. And page 7 is the page that caught my most. I'm trying my best to figure it out. And so if you can, please turn to page 7. And I know I'm going to need at least, I'm going to probably need Mr. Cavendish up as well, because so I'm looking at the color scheme, and they said that the colors didn't come through correctly. But if looking at the map, I see action in every area of the city except 12 and 5. They look gray. They look to be gray. And I typically on maps, gray means nothing.
I'm not exactly sure of the color
I can
legend.
show it to you, page 7.
Yeah, I know what graphic you're referring to, but I'm not sure about the legend of the color.
They have a legend on here. They have a legend on here, and the legend doesn't have anything that looks gray in it either.
Yeah, sorry, Councilmember Solomon Cavanagh, ATL DOT. So the graphic in the presentation doesn't represent the actual dashboard. We have that available to you and staff. I can assure you it's not gray, and the legend is not representative of content or what's happening with the program.
So is this a fake page?
No, this is still in the testing phase at this time when we screenshotted it.
So the data that's in here with the graphs that goes up and goes down for some of them, that has different districts, that's not real?
Well, our finding was that dashboard, and that was data in the city's dashboard as of August.
Okay, I got you. And it's gone now. It's
was
fixed.
incomplete. So
Okay.
our finding was that the dashboard as of August was incomplete. So
Okay.
it's really incomplete as of now. So that dashboard that the city is preparing should have more up-to-date data as of January 2024. And my understanding, which the commissioner can probably give you a more up-to-date date, should be prepared to be made public very soon. So that information there, that would have been as of August, wasn't up to date then, and it's really as of January 2024 is not up to date now. So that's not showing you the current condition, but we were concerned that project activation was delayed.
To see gray, and you're saying August it was incomplete, and now it's really incomplete. And so if it was gray then, that means it's probably even more gray now.
No, hopefully there's more projects underway
Can we get
now.
a color sheet before we leave today, just so I can see? I just want to make sure that some action is happening, because gray is a real thing. And if it was gray in August, that was a horrible thing as well.
Well,
I appreciate you on mine, but can we get I appreciate you for my questions. Can I get the updated version of this from the Transportation Department so that I can notice some action is going on in District 12? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Amos. So thank you for the presentation on the audit. I had a few questions. Was this really an overall view? It's on. Hear me now? Okay, well. The audits, of course, as was mentioned, take a while to come back. They sit over in the executive offices for 4 months while they sign off on them. And so I know, the first thing that grabbed my attention, and just through my experience in trying to get project updates, is Parks has, at the time of the audit, of course, I brought 20 of 71 projects through the construction phase, and Transportation has 0 out of 124. So I look forward, as was mentioned during Councilmember Lewis's questions, about getting an update on those. And I'm pending some updates on some projects in my district, but I think it would be great for all of the council members to get an update on where we are with project activation, and back to that dashboard. When is that going to be rolled out? Either Ms. Noble or Commissioner Cavanagh?
Hi, Solomon Cavins, ATL DOT. So I will make it clear to council that we will make the dashboard available to each of you if we haven't already done so. I'd just like to offer a comment that I don't think was mentioned. This is an audit from August 2023. There's been considerable work that's happened since that time, but I just want us to consider that since the presentation is being presented in January of 24, this represents August 23. But we will schedule time for each one of our council persons to give an update on the dashboard and where we are with the program.
And, you know, I understand that
Okay,
we made
and
progress, but going back to the, just looking at 5 of the projects in my district that were scheduled for a 2023 activation, not only have I not seen them brought to construction, but I've also not gotten substantial updates or timelines for really any of those projects. 2 sidewalk projects, a bridge project, a road project, and, you know, I thought I was making my million council district allocation easy by saying I want my streets resurfaced to get that delivered quickly, and that still has not occurred. So I look forward to those updates, and I will, of course, share the love and ask Parks for the 2 updates that I haven't seen any action on that were scheduled for a 2023 activation as well. But look forward to making more progress and getting those updates as soon as we can.
And to further clarify, I mean, most of the audit work went through, I think, late October and November, but I think the image of the dashboard was late August. But my understanding is the plan is to have, and the strategic delivery plan, that one of the controls we were looking at was communication of the projects, and the dashboard is the plan for communicating to the public and the council members the project status, and the dashboard is the vehicle for communication. And my understanding is the plan to do that is early 2024. Is that right? So.
And then just one last question. I guess the most striking thing to me outside of the project delivery numbers is the statement on page 8 that, and I hope this has changed as well, departmental staff told us they have not received direction on tracking these costs or soft costs. So Commissioner Cavanaugh, can you tell me how that has changed and how departmental staff hopefully have now been instructed on tracking those soft costs?
Yeah, I can't speak to the presentation. We obviously are in lockstep with our leadership and the administration, departmental staff, and I coordinate on a weekly basis to make sure that's in order. So that statement is being presented by audit. It doesn't represent the ATL DOT and our relationship with the administration. So I'll leave it there.
Well, as an update, Councilmember Wan's well prepared and has the entire audit in front of him, and he said, I think that was mostly directed at the Parks Department. So I'll take that up with your fellow commissioner.
Thank you. And thank you for the audit and all of the work that you all are doing, as well as you know, the council members weighing in. I appreciate you giving us the time to do that. So, got a quick question though. I was trying to follow the understanding, trying to understand better about the color matches on page 7. And from what I understand, and tell me if this is wrong, the legend is just assigning colors to every district. It doesn't mean, it has nothing to do with actual work, that the shades are color, because I mean, unless that's not the case. I just want to make sure I'm reading it right, because if so, I want to know what does aqua blue, how much work is that?
All right. Let me find the exhibit, because I don't, can you find the exhibit on here? In the report.
This is just.
Okay, so there's also the radius. I understand a little bit now of what he's saying. The screenshot is actually from June 2023
okay.
also, just so we're all clear on that this is not an August screenshot.
Okay, thank you
Either.
for correcting me.
It's
The
June.
screenshot was from June.
This is just to show us the dash, really.
This is
isn't it?
just, yeah, right. This is
Okay.
to show you the dashboard. So this is not showing you the current condition
Yeah,
of
the work
anything.
that was done
Right.
or anything like that. It's not depicting that. This is the dash.
It's to show you the type of information that will be available when the dashboard is publicly available.
And I also wanted to just include that ATL DOT has met with me to go over the dash. Rebecca Cerna came and we sat down and went over the dash. And I do believe that the dashboard is going to be a great tool for us going forward. So I do recommend that we all sit down and understand the dash, because we can answer some of these questions, because the natives are getting restless. We want to get these projects done, and the dash does help with that for sure. I just wanted to weigh in because I do appreciate these audits. I can't say that I enjoy, answering and participating. Glad we do weigh in though, but at the end of the day, the audits are very helpful. So I want just one example, just one, of something that's in the audit that has changed already, because finance does that for us, quite often. They've already corrected something. They've taken one of the recommendations. Do you have one? That would be for ATL DOT.
Yeah. Solomon Cavins, ATL DOT. I will call out that the number of activations has changed since. You'll see that we have a substantial number that brings us closer to our batch 1 number going into 2024 for our batch 2. And we've prioritized substantial work to include, not to minimize sidewalks, but to think about some of our major infrastructure work. We're trying to expedite those, and we're working with the council members to focus on the efficacy of our work and making sure we deliver on behalf of the citizens. So I will say our activations in coordination with council members has greatly increased, and that is one example. I can give others, but I would prefer to talk to you individually.
That's a good one, though.
Yes,
The activation number has increased. That's very important. I never want to move away from the conversation of sidewalks, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I want to keep that conversation top of mind. But yeah, that's exactly what I was asking, so thank you. And I yield.
Thank you, Councilwoman, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the presentation this morning. As a citywide member, I am certainly concerned about all of the projects in every district in Atlanta, but as a resident of District 12, I have a special interest, and so I'd like to be a part of those conversations. But I noticed that you're indicating there are 202 projects. I was concerned as to how many of those are actually in District 12, because we've had some challenges with respect to equity, with respect to performance. And finally, on page 9, I noticed that there are 153 projects that have not been started. And certainly this is not a critique. I'm a partner, but I'm just curious as to how we maintain equity to ensure that those communities specific to districts 3, 4, and 12, that they're getting their fair share of resources that are available to the city.
Well, I think when the resources were allocated originally, that was part of the effort, was to make sure the resources were allocated equitably. But the ordinance requires us to audit every year, so we'll be doing another review. And so we'll make sure that the table shows where the projects are. So we focused on the controls throughout the project life cycle, and we were looking at activation controls mostly this time because that's where most of the projects were. But we'll be looking at controls throughout the life cycle as projects progress throughout the life cycle. But we can make sure that we show as the projects progress where they are. But I think you'll also see that in the dashboard, if that answers your question.
Yeah, and thank you for the response. So the dashboard is confusing because it really, given the pie chart that we're discussing, it really only reflects 4 of the districts in terms of the color codes.
I think that's just the screenshot we showed, and no, we were trying to show that the dashboard is going to have a lot of great information that you're really going to want to see. So it has slicers and dicers that you'll be able to pull up and see which districts you're going to want to look at, but it's not available yet. So to me, that's, it's going to be a good resource, but it's not available yet. So that's really the problem, is it's delayed getting online.
Perfect. Final question, Mr. Chair. Page 10, you're indicating that there are 3 positions for project managers.
3 different levels, 1, 2, and 3.
And you had
yes.
some challenges in terms of hiring?
The departments have had challenges. That's what they told us, yes.
Okay, so I know we have a number of amazing institutions here in Atlanta, Georgia Tech, all of these amazing places. And I guess, how were we recruiting for these opportunities?
I should let the commissioner talk about that, but I think we're recruiting in the usual way through HR.
So this is a hot topic in the industry. Project managers are platinum resource. I think during our Q4 presentation back in December, we had an exchange about the opportunity to partner with our universities. So we're focusing on workforce. And we have gone out through our general means, however, partnered with HR to reevaluate our pay scales, to think about what a competitive rate is. We've had much success. We are interviewing, and we've actually brought on new staff to increase our chances for delivery. So that is an ongoing process. However, I can get more granular in a discussion about how it's going together. Yeah.
So I'm noticing the pay rate. So for an individual who has 15 years of experience, you're advertising $58,000. And my thought that may be the challenge, is the compensation rate.
Absolutely, absolutely. And obviously the current HR efforts to evaluate our current city rates is ongoing. I think we received that document and recommendations as of recent. But I would say we have made improvements to those ranges, thresholds. Bravely made improvements.
Thank you.
Speaker, Councilman Warren.
All right, I'm not satisfied with that answer, and I'll be honest with you. No, Commissioner, you stay up there. And this goes for parks and OEAM as well. I mean, this is not a secret that we've been having headwinds in terms of hiring, and since 2022. Council has been signaling to y'all that we have appetite and we want to get these projects moving, and we are willing to entertain personnel papers that raise the salaries so that we can get the people. I mean, I don't know how much longer we can hear the same song and not see any action. And then 5 years down the road, we're going to be having the same conversation about moving Atlanta forward that we're having about Renew Atlanta projects. I think my patience is getting worn a little thin on this because, again, we've been saying do something. We want to help you. If it's increasing the salary, let's do it. And let's not use the pay and class study timeline, because we can't wait for that any longer as well. And you're standing up there, so you're bearing the brunt of this. I don't mean it, but because it really is across, all departments. But that just really disappoints me. That this audit finding is not a surprise. It's, we've been talking about this for 2 years. So I hope that signal gets across to y'all at some point or somehow. I've communicated that to the HR commissioner. We cannot continue trying to hire and recruit the way we've been doing for the last 2 years. Everybody knows the market has changed, and we have to either we just have to reconcile that and do what we got to do to get there. So again, I'm sorry that you're the one standing up there at the microphone, but I think a message goes to all 3 departments that are under this. I do want to talk about the money a little bit more too, the soft costs. I'm also a little disappointed and surprised that Soft costs, I'm not sure why we would need to wait for direction from the administration on what those are. I mean, it's an industry standard, and what concerns me even more is that soft costs typically can be anywhere from 8 to 10% project budget. And on a $750 million project, we're talking $50 to $75 million that if we're not tracking it and we're not incorporating it into project budgets and costs, I don't want to find us again. I keep looking at Renew Atlanta because I thought we had learned lessons from that. It doesn't feel like we have. That if we're not incorporating that, we're going to end up having to do another very painful recalibration on the projects. And so I'm particularly surprised about parks. So I'm equal opportunity here in terms of my firing at critique at every department, but it just, again, it surprises me. And I don't know if, it would be nice to get clarification from, I feel like you are, in our conversations, y'all are on the soft costs. I feel like enterprise asset management in terms of buildings should be. I'm hoping parks, is there anyone from parks that can speak to where y'all are at with the soft cost piece of it? Because again, I don't want to find us 6 months, 8 months, a year down the road, and we're talking about a $75 million gap that we've got to close somehow.
So I can speak a little bit. The departments were not on the same page on soft costs. So,
Same page with whom?
well, the commissioner said they were in lockstep. So I think perhaps transportation has a better handle on soft costs than some of the other departments, and that's one of the reasons we made the recommendations to the deputy chief operating officer, because we thought there was a more central oversight was needed to make sure the three departments were on the same page.
I agree with your finding. I guess I'm just surprised that.
Well, we'll have an opportunity to be tracking that in the second, third, fourth audits. So we'll keep talking.
And when are those scheduled for?
Well, I mean, it's on the audit plan. We're continuing to go to the meetings and sort of keep an eye, and we'll be, reviewing the implementation status of the first 3 recommendations. So we'll be sort of talking about, where we are on soft costs. So we haven't actually stopped auditing, maybe sort of a little bit of a pause, but we'll be auditing in the next.
Yeah, but when's I guess I want to understand what the time gap is between this was as of last August, and we're hearing it in December. So then you're going to have to do the audit.
I do want to clarify. It wasn't actually as of last August. It was more like October. But so you'll probably see it in the next. I think I was planning for it to come out in October.
I appreciate that. I am going to make a request. In the audit, you had a response from the deputy COO. I'd like to, not right now, but at some point get a briefing or an update from that office in terms of questions that I've raised, particularly around, I'll just leave it at that.
So we were definitely planning to follow the money a little bit more as the spending goes up.
Okay. All right. My final thing has to do with, it's not so much about not the dashboard presentation itself, but the timing of when we can go public with that, and then the concerns I have around the delay and the lag between what is presented to the public versus the underlying data. I'm just going to, we don't need a response right now. I'm just going to express my concern. Again, I think coming back to council, one of the biggest criticism I kept hearing about Renew Atlanta was the lack of updated information available to the public. And it feels like 2 years in, yet another lesson we haven't learned, and that we haven't self-corrected. So this is, I don't know if the executive office manages the dashboard and is in charge of that, since it spans multiple departments, but we got to get this right. The public is probably looking at this even more critically than we are. And I don't know, I'll just say it's kind of embarrassing that we're having the same, it's like Groundhog Day. We're having the same conversations on a a lot of money that the public has trusted us with. So I'm hoping that as the departments continue to report to committees, we're going to see progress on this. But I just want to share my frustrations and concerns, but then also my nudge in terms of when we do go public with this, let's just make sure it is updated as often as possible, all the, so that the public watching can have some confidence. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And I'm sorry, Councilmember, there was a lot you unpacked there. And just in defense of, if I may touch on soft costs, we want to make sure that in our accounting that there's consistency amongst the 3 departments. So it is unequal in terms of the soft costs that are assigned to Atlanta Department of Transportation, Parks, and DEEM. In DEEM and Parks Defense, they have really gotten projects moving. They've done a great job in terms of project management and actually delivering on the projects. So they're helping us accelerate the program. I will say that the soft costs, because of the nature of soft costs, the accounting associated with it is really important. We get it right and make sure there's consistency across. So what we've asked as a department is to work with the audit team to make sure those items are defined and we're clear across all departments. Now, recognize some of the frustration, I recognize some of the frustrations you shared about the accounting and where we were maybe 2 years ago. There's been a shift or a transition happening internal, starting from leadership of a whole of government approach to how we do things. And we're trying to make sure that the Moving Atlanta Forward program coordinates as efficiently with our procurement offices, our administrative offices, to make sure those systems align and that we can deliver ethically and make sure that transparency exists. So I just want to give a quick shout out to Jadeep from procurement, our Chief Procurement Officer, considering how much he's worked with us to make sure that we expedite payments, we get our invoices in, and considering the Oracle and internal systems that the data aligns so that we can report in a timely way. So understand your frustrations. Hopefully we can share where we are in terms of our internal, how the sausage is made, if you will. But I don't want to give you the impression that come budget season and during our budget hearings, it's going to be the same thing as it was last year. We have made substantial improvements to our internal operations, and you'll see that we have a brand new leadership team internally, and they're bringing ideas and approaches to how we do business from, not the legacy program that maybe the city from 2 years experienced, but for where we're going. So I always refer back to Atlanta DOT 2.0 and the collaboration with the other departments that's happening at a level that I'm hearing hasn't happened here at the city. So I totally understand the frustration, and until we deliver and execute, that probably won't go away, but we're more than willing to sit with you and work those things out. So
I appreciate it. Two just quick comments. Number one is, I guess I'm a little surprised that soft costs are fairly well defined in industry. So I don't know why we're grinding on this, because it's not a new concept. And the second point is that soft costs are typically where project budgets get blown. And that's the fact, that's what makes me the most nervous, is that if we are just grinding in the mud on this topic, it's probably high risk in terms of blowing overall budget. So that's why I raised the issues I raised.
And just in quick response, that is totally received.
Thank you.
What we've done, recognizing that we have outsourced many of our functions in terms of controls and some of the other functions for oversight of the program, we're starting to onshore and bring some of that in-house so that we make sure we're on top of that and don't blow the budget and don't get ahead of ourselves. So totally understand.
And I want to say, first I want to draw back a few of my statements from earlier, because when you say this is a screenshot from what the projects look like in August, right? And so I know you started in January. So this was the lay of the land in August, 8 months later, after you were transitioning into the field, transitioning there. But if this was the lay of the land in August, after we were almost at the halftime of our administration, I do understand we got an engineer for a mayor, engineer-led department now, and this should not have been the lay of the land. And as we look forward, I'm looking forward to what we get back from you by the end of this meeting, because now that because he was able to hire, I feel that I've been quoted as saying, I feel that he got his guy, that he hired the person that we needed to push our city forward. And so I would say, after you being on the ground 8 months, this could have still been the lay of the land. But after 1 year, I would hope that District 12 looks a little different. So I look forward to that piece of paper coming out. I also want to say thank you to the auditing team for your work. Thank you for answering these questions. I know we've been laying some stuff on you. All you did was lay the facts out to us, and we don't like this stuff. So I want to say I appreciate you for that. Lastly, we were looking at the job requirements. And the one thing I've tried to make sure I say, hire who you need to hire, because we're going to hold you accountable to the work getting done. And so looking at the minimum salary, $50,900, can't afford to live in the city of Atlanta for that. Looking at project manager 2 on page 10, $54,700, and then project manager 3, $58,800. You can't afford to live in the city of Atlanta with that. So we need to almost scratch that out. And do we advertise at the maximum salary? Do we ever advertise at the maximum salary? I'm looking online at the job descriptions, and I don't see the maximum salary on it. So if the project manager 1, for example, the minimum salary is $50,000, the mid salary is $67,000, but the maximum is $84,000. Are we advertising at the $84,000 range? Is that something that the HR department in transportation can answer before the end of this meeting? If you can find the job description that's online, the current, if the HR department that's for the Department of ATO DOT can get me a printed out sheet of this, a printed out job description of project manager 1, project manager 2, and project manager 3, that will show me the advertised salaries on it. Thank you.
Thank you, and of course that was not Councilwoman Overstreet speaking, as the computer says, but now the mic is yours.
Yeah, just one quick question. Well, actually, just two. So for FY25, I'm glad you brought up budget for this year. I just want to make sure, first of all, I didn't like cutting back the budget for ATL DOT in the first place last year, and I was very vocal about that. $7 million was a lot to lose from that department when we have so much riding on these projects. So this year for FY25, I actually will be advocating for that to come back to your budget plus some, because I think we need it. And if it's the same answer that I got last year, that, we have more than enough money to spend, then we need more of the positions filled, and we should fill them in a way that is attractive to everyone. We have ways that we can use that money, that funding, to make sure that we're delivering these projects. So I will be advocating for that. What defines activation? Did you all talk about that? I was late. Because, activation could be, a simple term, and I just want to.
I think we did. Let me find it. Rebecca's finding it in the report.
There's the activation phase is described in Exhibit 7 on page 13. Do you have the report in front of you? Of the slides, it's on.
I don't see a definition on page 7.
I'm sorry, I'm getting, because you have the slides, I was talking about the report. Give me 1 second, I'll find it for you.
Okay, this is when I was getting settled in. Okay, so activation, assign a project, confirm.
7.
Got it. Okay, glad I asked. I just need to go through my whole packet.
Right, okay, so that's where they assign the project manager, confirm the funding in Oracle, develop the project charter, develop project management plan, develop a risk register, and baseline schedule. So it's basically, it's starting out the project.
And according to the audit, you're comfortable with these definitions. They're adequate. This is what we need as a city. It's appropriate in order, because.
Yeah, we were comfortable with the framework is consistent with best practices.
Okay.
We were concerned that the departments were not consistently doing all the things in the activation phase that they should be doing. They weren't necessarily developing the project management plan. So some of the departments were waiting until the construction phase to do it because that's the way they were used to doing it. And we were saying, well, the strategic delivery plan says do that in the activation phase.
Okay. Understood. And I definitely think that since I'm looking at all of these bullet points that, you know, it's like a rubric. You check this off, then we should be on the right page. So, all right. Thank you. That's all I needed to know.
Thank you. Councilmember Hillis.
Thank you. Just a few follow-ups. Number one is much to what Councilmember Juan was speaking about. You know, you're the one here in Transportation Commissioner that gets to get beat up, but you're one of 3 departments. Dean reports to FEC, which this audit report is dual referred to. However, again, much to Councilmember Juan's point, I would like to request that the administration have our Parks Commissioner also attend the FEC meeting so he can answer to the park-specific issues and findings. So make that request that he and possibly the DCOO attend the FEC meeting this afternoon to speak to that. And then secondly, Commissioner Cavanis, and I know we talked about, you know, at this point, this audit's almost a half a year old. You know, hence some of the striking numbers when you see procurement 1, construction 0, complete 0. You may not have the exact numbers, but how has each of those numbers changed? The 1, 0, 0. What would you say those are at now?
So I actually have the status of the overall program available that I can share with each council person. Now, I don't have it in front of me, but in the order of I'll say in the order of 2 in terms of, or order of 3 in terms of activation. But we have various stages of activation or where we are in the process. So I'd be more comfortable in sharing that with the council, just so that you're aware of where the program status is for each process area.
Is that a simple document you can share with us by the end of the day?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Okay, colleagues, as you can tell, our numbers are in flux, and I may be in jeopardy of losing a quorum. We have actually been joined by one of our council members who wants to ask some very brief questions, so keep in mind that I may lose my quorum. I just want to let you know.
It's almost like you're trying to tell me something. Hi, I'm Liliana Bakhtiari. I'm not on this committee, but I wanted to step in to ask questions when I saw the audit occurring. I mean, my questions are basic as to, my general question is, I think I speak for my colleagues here when I say we aren't seeing these dollars moving. Why? And don't tell me about meetings. I have had so many meetings with you guys, and I get it. I know how hard you are worked. You have the whole city. I can't even imagine the difficulty of that. And we ask a lot. Our constituency asks a lot, especially mine. So I'm fully aware of that. But I am tired. I'm sure you are tired. We did at my office did a $1 million participatory project with MAF and other dollars, and we are moving nothing. I had the heads of my neighborhood come and sit with you all to have conversations, submit projects that were fully vetted, and here we are, and I can't even get a sidewalk installed. Why are we not moving these dollars? What needs to be done to make them happen? The funding. Tell me what we can do, because I don't know that we've had the meetings, you've asked for time, all of that is okay. What do we tell our constituency? Because I am not in the habit of throwing my departments under the bus. I will not do that. I will stand with you, but tell me what to tell them. Tell me what to tell me, because I don't understand what needs to happen to move things forward and to get our MAF dollars moving. I have a constituent here that's sitting in that I put on the oversight committee, and I don't even know she can tell me anything. So please just explain to me with this audit where we are with our dollars, how we move them forward, how we get projects completed. Because as of right now, I have no answers and no understanding.
So, welcome, council member. I would offer that there's an education that probably needs to happen with all of our council. Now, I don't want to agitate the situation given we are reconstruction, fixing this plane in the air. We have Moving Atlanta Forward, which is our current program, which was activated in 2022. There was I won't use the term legacy program, but there's a program that we're still delivering on from 2015 and 16. Those dollars are moving, and I can share those dollars with each of the council persons. To say that there's no activity, maybe not for Moving Atlanta Forward, because as part of the education, there are phases related to Moving Atlanta Forward, which include designing the work. There's pre-construction, there's activation, there's designing the work. Not until that's designed and all's coordinated with utilities, et cetera, do we break ground and start construction. So what we're trying to do is get as much of the existing program from Renew and the discretionary funds, including paving, out moving as we move our design and activation and design for Moving Atlanta Forward, so that we can activate construction. The dollars aren't happening because activation and design are some of the smaller order dollars. Not until construction and award to a contractor does the real money start to flow out to get the projects done. So that education, I think, is very important, so the expectations are leveled and we're not sitting here saying we just need to be delivering and doing without understanding what it takes to at least get to construction and get those dollars flowing. So I just want to represent the department and make sure everyone understands that we're making great headway on our former program. But as we move into Moving Atlanta Forward, there are a number of steps that precede construction and dirt flying. So I can coordinate with whomever to make sure that that education happens, but that just helps make sure we're on the same ball field.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing correctly on the education piece is that you need to coordinate with each of our offices to kind of walk through?
Yes.
Okay, for the record, we have done that. So I have done that several times. I just want that stated. I have done that several times. Several times with the office. So I'm happy to sit down again, but we can only talk about things so much without yielding results.
Absolutely, and I'm curious if there's a different statement from what I just shared being shared during these meetings about how we get to construction and the timeline. That's a conversation we can have, but I want to make it clear so the expectations are leveled, so that we're not speaking past each other and understanding how this is supposed to work. So I'd love to have that conversation as a leader, considering the communication with staff, making sure we're all on the same page.
And if I may, one of the things that would be very helpful, because right now, each of us is hearing from different people from the ATLDO team without fully understanding who oversees what. I think there needs to be a designated person that you appoint to communicate with us.
Sure.
Or there needs to be a specific, if you're going to have 3 or 4 people, there needs to be a key, write down in words, precise, and understanding who these people who oversees what, so that I am not going to a DC about something that another DC oversees. And then therefore they have to go try to track it down from me, because I don't want to, at the same time, I don't want to overburden somebody on the team with something that is not their job. So if there can be a breakdown so that I can make sure that I am not creating more work for you by asking the wrong people about projects, that could be super helpful as well.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because we'd like to have a shared understanding of who is communicating, so that we're all on the same page. So I appreciate that comment.
Then I will be happy to make myself available again. Okay.
Waits.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your indulgence this morning. Commissioner, I'm certainly not going to beat a dead horse. I share my colleagues' sentiments that we are partners and wish to collaborate. But I just want to go back to this conversation surrounding compensation. I believe that this is a major factor in terms of the challenges that we have here in the city of Atlanta. And I know our other partners, our other municipalities and counties, generally we don't get the talent that we desire, oftentimes because of this particular dynamic. And my concern is with the minimum advertising, we're never going to attract the type of talent that we need to move us forward. And so it's my hope that you will visit us in finance today to come up with a strategy as to how we get to the maximum level, which to me seems to be a better number in terms of compensation to attract the talent that we desire in Atlanta. Thank you, sir.
Okay, with that being said, Miss, I have a couple of questions. Miss Johnson, the notes that you was reading, can you forward that to council as well? I think your notes, the presentation, and the audit will help fill a complete picture as well. So thank you for that. And then let's talk about productivity. I know we got the presentation and the audit a couple of weeks ago. When did the departments get them? Did they get them at the same time?
The final audit on Monday when we distribute it to full council, which day was that? But they get an earlier version before they respond to it. I can give you the full timeline if you want.
And like I say, productivity. I'm thinking how productive this meeting would be if the department had it, to be able to answer and respond.
The department had the audit.
Okay, and because at the end of the day, I mean, we're repeating the same thing. We've been at this probably, some of us longer than others, but I already know Campbellton Road sidewalks, that's my friend thing down at the end. Anything, I'm easy, anything District 3. So when we shouldn't be talking in circles. We should be able to give us some. So if you don't have a person on your team to say, Councilmember Waits is going to ask for this, Councilmember Wan is going to ask for this, so we can have more productive meetings, I'm asking for you to find that so we can move next week's meeting forward, because we all have our cares and our nuances and we are talking in circles. The first time that I could ever think of in a long time, we actually have the money to get things done, and we're not moving. Now, what I'm looking for from the departments is to tell us what you can do, because there's a cog in the wheel somewhere. So if you're telling us that you're ready to roll, but another department is the cog, that's what we need to know, so we're not here an hour talking about something in transportation that transportation has no control over. So that's what, that's what we're looking for, is the leadership from you to tell us whose door we need to be knocking on, because someone has the answer. If it's not the commissioner, it's the chief operating officer. Not the chief operating officer, you see where I'm going, we're going up the line. Somebody has the answer, and that's what we're looking for, because the people listening to my voice right now is looking for answers from us. And we cannot keep saying transportation is getting ready, transportation is getting ready. So, and like you say, we want to support you, and I believe the support will be shown during budget time, because it comes down, that's what it comes down to us, the bottom line. But thank you for the audit. I understand you just an independent factor looking in. Thank you for highlighting the things, but for us to understand that it is a snapshot in time, and there has been some improvements. Now it's just time to do some more improvements by the next transportation meeting to move us forward, so the people can have confidence in what we're doing. So thank you very much. All right, with that being said, I actually make a motion to accept this audit and forward it to Finance Exec Commission. Motion has been made and second. Open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
5 yeas, no nays, motion carries. It has been accepted and forwarded. Before we move on to the consent agenda first read, I do see a colleague sitting in the office. Councilmember Norwood has a paper here, item number 9. I would like to move it to the top of the agenda so we can cover it now. I understand she has to move on. So if you could read item number 9, 24-R-3005.
A resolution by Councilmember Mary Norwood authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute a project management agreement with the Buckhead Community Improvement District for the Mount Paran Road Resurfacing and Safety Improvement Project, to execute any required agreements for project participation and implementation on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation in an amount not to exceed $3,500,000.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein, and for other purposes.
Okay, I understand there is a need for a substitute, so I make the motion to bring forward the substitute. Motion has been made in second. Open the vote.
Yeah. Vote is open. The vote is closed.
6 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is before us. I see DC Moore is to speak to it.
Yes, sir. Greg Moore, Deputy Commissioner for Capital Delivery, ATL DOT. The department is in support of this legislation in partnership with the Buckhead Community Improvement District for delivery of this Moving Atlanta Forward project.
Thank you. Councilmember Norwood, you want to speak to it, or?
Thank you. Just very quickly, the Buckhead CID did the West Paces Ferry resurfacing, did that well, and that is why they have requested that they be allowed to do this one. That means it is not being done by all the city employees and the city departments, so it opens up other projects going quickly because this one will be done by that partnership.
Thank you. Motion has been made in second. Open the vote.
Can we repeat who seconded the motion?
Councilwoman Overstreet seconded the motion.
The vote is open. May all council members please vote?
Please vote, colleagues.
Yeah.
Six yeas, 0 nays. Is favorable substitute. Thank you. That moves us to first read consent agenda.
Item number 2, 24-0-1027, an ordinance by the Transportation Committee waiving Article 10, Division 4 of the Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta, Georgia, Code of Ordinances, to authorize the mayor or his designee to execute contractual agreements, including a memorandum of understanding with the conference organizer and all associated performers, artists, venues, and vendors necessary to effectuate Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport hosting the 2024 Airport Council International 6th Annual Customer Experience Global Summit Conference for the benefit of the public in an amount not to exceed $250,000.00. All contracted work to be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. Okay. Item number 3. 24-0-1028, an ordinance by the Transportation Committee amending the fiscal year 2024 Airport Renewal and Extension Fund budget by transferring to and from appropriations in the amount of $100 million.00 to provide funding for various projects at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport and for other purposes. And Item number 4, 24-1029, an ordinance by the Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a construction agreement between the City of Atlanta and the Georgia Department of Transportation for the 10th Street Bridge Multimodal Area Enhancements Project. Identification number 0015890, authorizing the mayor to enter into a project management agreement between the City of Atlanta and the Midtown Community Improvement District for the 10th Street Bridge Multimodal Enhancement Project, amending the 2024 Intergovernmental Grant Fund budget on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation by transferring to and from appropriations in the amount of $4,640,600.00 for the project and for other purposes.
Thank you, sir. All those will go forward as first read. That takes us to our regular agenda, ordinances for second read.
Item number 5, 23-01712, an ordinance by the Transportation Committee amending the fiscal year 2024 Airport Renewal and Extension Fund budget by transferring to and from appropriations in the amount of $27,325,585.00 to provide funding for various projects at Hartfield at Jackson International Airport and for other purposes.
Good morning, Neville Renderia with the Department of Aviation, Assistant General Manager, Capital and Financial Planning. The $27.3 million is the second tranche of funding for various projects and supporting staff at the airport for the fiscal year 24 budget, and is approximately 1/3 of the total amount. The first tranche of $56.2 million was passed in July 2023. We did the funding in 2 tranches to provide DOA with flexibility if needed. The funding will cover costs for program management services in the amount of $10.3 million, construction management services in the amount of $7.3 million.
Sir, excuse me, can you speak up a little bit and into the mic, please? Thank you.
And the remaining $9.8 million is spread over planning, testing, insurance coverage for contractors, and other items as listed in the ordinance.
Okay. Very quickly, if we could, before the next meeting, get a detailed list of project and dollar amount. We have 27 million that we're doing second reading, but we have one right behind it for 100 million, and just want to know. Okay. You got a question, Council Member Lewis? Where are you?
And I want to stand in line with with the chairman on this. And when we see $27 million,
the listing is in the legislation, the stuff that adds up to $27.3 million.
I see the notes now. See, I like that productivity. I like that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
No, same thing.
Thank you. Motion to approve. Motion has been made and second. It was no, Overstreet. Open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
6 ayes, 0 nays, favorable. Next one, please.
Item number 6, 24-01011, an ordinance by council members Jason Dozer, Amir Faroki, Michael Julian Bond, Matt Westmoreland, Howard Shook, Andrea L. Boone, Dustin Hillis, Jason Winston, Mary Norwood, Liliana Bakhtiari, Marcy Collier Overstreet, and Byron D. Amos, prohibiting turns on red lights within downtown Atlanta, Midtown Atlanta, and Castleberry Hill, and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, the Atlanta Department of Transportation has requested this item be held.
Okay, thank you. I do know I see one of my council members in back want to speak to this legislation. Councilmember Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, colleagues. I really appreciate most of the folks on this body being willing to co-sponsor this legislation. I introduced it last week largely as a way to save lives. I know many of us have walked over to the APS building when we saw those folks get sworn in last week. We walk over to the Georgia Capitol building. I know many of y'all see a lot of the cars in this city don't always yield to pedestrians as we try to cross in crosswalks. Big old SUVs encroaching in crosswalks. dogs. We want to save lives at the end of the day, and this is going to go a long way towards making that happen. There's a lot of things that the Department of Transportation is already doing. Leading pedestrian intervals. I know when we talked about moving Atlanta forward earlier to bring more infrastructure projects to help save lives. This is a really efficient, low-hanging fruit way to help support that effort. Cities across the country are already doing it, and it's something that that Atlanta would help lead the way on. So with that being said, there's some things that we're still working on with the Department of Law to make sure that this ordinance remains an ordinance. This ordinance remains something that, we cross our T's, dot our I's. And so I support the effort to hold this legislation for another cycle, just so we make sure that that happens. But I do intend to do my part in seeing this thing through. But I appreciate y'all supporting this effort. So I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to speak to it, and thank you for your consideration.
So thank you. I see we have two members who want to speak. Please let us know if you want to ask the question to the author of the paper or to the department. Councilmember Lewis.
And to the author. Last week, I remember when you were passing the paper around, I looked at it and I thought it was a good, well-intentioned legislation. And growing up in the city and understanding the demographics of the community and being your neighbor, I understand that when I tried to ban ski masks and ban the KKK hoods, what people made sure they talked to me about was more interaction with black people and the police. And so I think that the reason why I didn't sign this legislation, and I was later received phone calls from people, was because they talked about interaction with police and citizens, and the police would get to make the choice when to enforce this. And so myself, I couldn't sign on to it because I didn't want to see more interaction with police. And I wish I hope that we can look for a way to do this, that the enforcement will not have to be the police, because as long as the police are involved in this and police don't want more interaction with citizens on traffic stops as well, then we know that traffic stops have led to black folk dying, particularly in this city right here. Mm-hmm. So myself, I know we say we want to hold it. I filed that legislation. The reason I filed it, I don't never want it to come back because I don't want to be the cause of more interaction with police and black folk. Mm-hmm. And so I would want you to look at this the same manner. Thank you.
Just to respond to that, I definitely hear you loud and clear on that. And one of the things that I think is important with this particular paper is that it's not just leaning on enforcement. The paper calls for additional signage at every signalized intersection in these communities. In other cities and other communities where they have had similar sort of legislation or initiatives, we've seen a 90% compliance rate with the new no turn on red policy. So considering that, and based on and also considering the fact that there's already no turn on red at many of our intersections, even right out here at City Hall, there's already no turn on red out here as well in certain places. My gut feeling is that yes, the police have the ability to issue a ticket if you're not following the rules of the road. But I think that the new signage and the fact that we call for ATL DOT to also have some education around this, I think will go a long way to improve traffic safety beyond the enforcement side of the house. So just want to call that out as well.
And I was thinking about that exact signage you were thinking about. If you stand on that corner, you'll see people turning on red all day. And so I was thinking, we are already short police in the city of Atlanta. I was thinking about how do we enforce that? And so are we gonna have a police officer sit and watch there and then pull people over? And so I was just thinking about the enforcement and more interaction with police. And I was thinking about that interaction in particular, in which we see people turning on red all the time, even though the signage is already up. And so that signage hasn't prevented folks from doing it. And I can just see police pulling people over just for that. And so I just don't want to see more police interaction with people.
I mean, point taken. At the same time, I've seen folks blow through red lights. I've seen folks blow through stop signs. That's also illegal. And those are also things that we can enforce. So someone making the decision to break a law should not prohibit us or prevent us from putting rules in place to make people safe. So I definitely hear that, but I do know that 99% of the people in the city are rule followers like you and I are, and so there are going to be some bad apples out there, and I trust our law enforcement apparatus to do what it can do to prevent those folks from doing those illicit behaviors. But most of us follow the rules of the road, and I think that I trust the people of Atlanta to do so as well.
I agree, but you saying you trust the police to enforce the law?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I'm a follower of the laws, and I was just thinking about I always would think about because we're well-intentioned like crazy on this, and we ain't trying to make the police interact with folks. And so that's the same thing I always try to remember. When I was telling folks no ski masks, no KKK hoods in public places, the drawback was I talked to a police officer, and so I'm gonna ask you that at the end of this. I talked to a police officer in Pittsburgh at the Pittsburgh Community Parade, and it was raining outside, but he still wanted to talk to me, and he said, "Hey, I don't trust us to enforce this the right way." That's what he said. And so have you spoken with any police officers about this?
So gentlemen, if I could, because this paper is being held, and the two of you will see each other back there. So I'm going to jump in right here, Councilmember Waits.
Very quickly, I just want to offer a different perspective, Mr. Chairman. Castleberry, which I lived there 20 years ago, was a very unique community. It's a bedroom community, in my opinion. And so for that reason, I am supportive of this legislation and any measure that's going to protect our citizens. But I give pause when it comes to downtown and midtown, because our city is extremely unique. We don't have the transit system that New York and DC and other areas have to move people along. And so for those areas that have high traffic corridors, my concern is that it's going to be disruptive to the flow of traffic in those areas where we have problems already. And secondly, as my colleague indicated, I have received a number of emails as well as phone calls from the business and corporate community where they have expressed some concerns. And so in theory, I like the bill. I think it's a necessity, but I pause when it comes to applying this to the downtown corridors as well as midtown areas. And so again, I believe we need this in Castleberry, and I think this is exactly where we should enforce this measure. But I would ask that you consider a possible amendment for those areas, Baker Street and those other areas of the city that have huge events, the larger hotels, Marriott Marquis, Hyatt, Hilton, where there are massive conventions there. We would be sitting there forever trying to make a right turn, if you were to enforce something like this. And so I look forward to having further conversations and supporting your work.
Thank you. And I'll just, Mr. Chair, if I can just add, I did talk with the CIDs, myself and colleagues who co-sponsor this paper, did talk with the CIDs who represent a big portion of businesses that are in these communities. So there's support there as well, but always happy to have a continued conversation and make sure that, all systems are aligned so that we can move forward with something that's going to save lives.
Thank you. Councilmember Faroki.
Thank you, Councilmember Dozier, for your leadership on this, and I'm happy to partner with you on this, particularly with respect to Midtown, whose residents and CID are fully supportive, and look forward to seeing this paper move forward. Next cycle, I'll move to hold.
That's been made. Second, open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
Thank you. 78 0 nays. Paper will be held. Takes us to our resolution.
Item number 7, 24R3002, a resolution by Councilmember Hillis requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Hall Street Northwest between Ada Avenue Northwest and Donald L. Hollowell Parkway in order to reduce speeding and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, there is a request for a motion to amend this item just to revise some language in the last whereas clause.
Motion to amend. Motion has been made. Second, open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed.
68 0 nays. The amended legislation is before us. I see ADOT want to speak to it.
Yes, good morning, Council. Alan Smith, Deputy Commissioner, ATL DOT. The department supports this legislation.
Thank you. Would the author like to say anything?
This is a big need in District 9 requested from the neighborhood, so was happy this study came out positive. So we'll make a motion to adopt as amended.
Second. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. The vote is closed.
6 yeas, 0 nays is favorable. Next item, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair. This item has a substitute that would amend the caption, so I ask that we please bring the substitute first.
Second. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
Vote open. Vote is closed.
6 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is before us.
This is item number 8, 24R3004, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Winston requesting the mayor or his designee to make the intersection of Meteor Avenue Southeast and Harper Road Southeast and Meteor Avenue Southeast and Schnell Road Southeast in the Lakewood Heights neighborhood always stop controlled intersections. To request the Atlanta Department of Transportation install stop signs at the intersections. To request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install traffic calming devices on Meteor Avenue from southeast from Sterling Street Southeast to Swan Drive Southeast and for other purposes.
Thank you.
Alan Smith, ATL DOT. The department supports this legislation as well.
Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. Oh, sorry. Now the vote is closed.
6 yeas, 0 nays is favorable. Next item, please.
Item number 10, 24R3008, a resolution by Councilmember Byron D. Amos requesting the mayor or his designee make the intersection of Fowler Street and 16th Street in the Atlantic Station neighborhood an always stop-controlled intersection, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection, and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, the Atlanta Department of Transportation has requested this item be held.
Motion to hold, and for my people that's listening, we are holding this to see if we can identify a better way to improve this intersection. So I know you're expecting it to move forward today, but I think it may be a better way than an always stop to make this intersection safer. So motion has been made and seconded. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. Paper will be held. Next item.
Item number 11, 24R3009, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Dozer requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Windsor Street Southwest from Glen Street to Fulton Street Southwest and for other purposes.
Alan Smith, ATL DOT. The department also supports this legislation.
Motion to approve. Motion been made second. Open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. Motion is favorable. Next item.
Item number 12, 24R3010, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Dozer, Antonio Lewis, Liliana Bakhtiari, Mary Norwood, Matt Westmoreland, Howard Shook, Andrea L. Boone, Michael Julian Bond, Dustin Hillis, Amir Faroki, Alex Wan, Keisha Sean Waits, Jason Winston, and Marcy Collier Overstreet, urging the Atlanta Department of Transportation to develop a one-stop utility construction assistance website and helpline for Atlanta residents and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, the Atlanta Department of Transportation requests this item be held.
I see a thumbs up from the author right there. Motion to hold. Motion has been made and second. Open the vote.
The vote is open. Vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The paper will be held. Next item.
Item number 13, 24R3103, a resolution by the Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute agreement with agreement number listed herein with AVI SPL LLC at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport on behalf of the Department of Aviation in an amount not to exceed $613,754.38 for 3 years with 2 one-year renewal options. All services will be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Michael Smith, Deputy General Manager, Department of Aviation. This paper allows us to enter into an agreement with the company to expand the audiovisual equipment in what's known as our C4 complex, which is our Emergency Operations Center.
Motion to approve. Motion has been made and second. Open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. Item is favorable. Next item.
Item number 14, 24R3104, a resolution by the Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an agreement with the Atlanta Airlines Terminal Company for the Concourse FIS level roll-up door replacement project at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport for a cost to the city not to exceed $4,624,409.00 to be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Good morning. Tom Nasalki, Assistant General Manager for Planning and Development at the Department of Aviation. These doors prevent international arriving passengers from bypassing passport control, making the doors a vital security component at the airport. Each door is approximately 8 feet tall and about 15 feet wide, are motor driven. They're original to the building, so they're 29 years old, and we've determined that they need to be replaced. And this legislation will fund the replacement of all 26 doors.
Motion to approve. Second, please open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Next item.
Item number 15, 24R3105, a resolution by the Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an on-call property tax consulting contract for services at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport for RFPS 1230298 with Tax and Accounting Solutions Incorporated with a 2-year term and an amount not to exceed $200,000.00 on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Aviation. All services will be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Smith.
I'm Michael Smith, Deputy General Manager. The airport owns several thousand acres of property outside of what we call the fence, located in Clayton County, Paulding County, Dawson County, City of Hayfield, and City of College Park. Those parcels require us to, we are taxed on those properties, and so from time to time we need to justify and validate the accuracy of the billings, for those properties. So we want to engage this company for a period of time to help us in those reviews. This was a RFP. We did have 3 proponents. It was done under the SBL, the Shelter Market Company, and so we're asking that we be allowed to enter into the contract.
Motion to approve. Motion been made and second. Open the vote.
The vote is open. Vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. That brings us to our dual refer items, in which there are none, which takes us to our papers held in committee, which is none, which brings us to the end of our legislative agenda almost. Councilmember Weeks.
Perfect. I'm looking for the Transportation Commissioner. Is he still present today? Has he left?
I think he left, but
Okay.
I see several of his deputies,
Okay.
and he's probably listening.
So apparently there's a challenge with respect to the red light cameras, and I've been informed that these are not the City of Atlanta cameras, but the red light cameras are issuing citations as it relates to Gideon's Elementary, which they're indicating is on Pryor Road, which it is not. I believe, after speaking with our solicitor, Erica Smith, that this system may be malfunctioning. I've received multiple phone calls from constituents. I've received one of these tickets as well and paid it. But nonetheless, I am concerned that this may be a reoccurring dynamic. I think Councilmember Lewis received one as well. So for those of us who travel that corridor, I think that we need to get some support. It's my understanding that the cameras are owned by the state. And so I'd like the support of the Atlanta DOT to look into this matter to see if we can deactivate those cameras until we're able to get them properly working and functioning, because the last citation was issued at 5:58 p.m., and I don't believe that's within the school zone.
Okay.
Timeframe.
And Alan Smith, ATL DOT, did you say Gideon's Elementary? No, the Gideon's?
That's what's on the citation. I'm going to print it for you and give you guys a copy of. Oh, there you are. And so, but again, the citations are after school hours. And lastly, I don't think Gideon's is on Pryor Road, correct?
It's on McDaniel Street, and they're not only on Gideon, on Pryor Road, it's taking photos on Pryor and on Metropolitan. I was told that they've had this same glitch in another part of the city, and they fixed it. I think we may need to do the same fix over here for Gideon's.
Okay, we'll definitely take a look at that.
Thank you so much, and I'll forward you copies of the citation. In fact, Councilmember Norwood indicated that this is a challenge on Peachtree Battle, I think, at some point with one of the cameras. And again, I'm very clear it's not owned by the City of Atlanta, but it's happening within our jurisdiction. So I'd like your support to address that.
Definitely.
With that being said, we stand adjourned.